The general didn't see a soldier that morning. He saw a mistaken uniform. In front of an entire hangar, beneath the roar of a crippled $50 million military engine, he laughed at the young black recruit standing at attention. Said he didn't belong there. Said some people were better suited for cleaning floors than touching machines worth more than their entire neighborhoods. The room felt smaller after that. Heavier. Every pair of eyes waiting to see the recruit shrink or snap. But what no one knew, what the general didn't bother to ask, was that this mistake had been studying engines like this since he was a teenager. That he had memorized schematics most seasoned officers couldn't read. And when that engine failed in a way no one could fix, the only person who understood its silence was the one they had just humiliated. The question wasn't whether he could fix it. The real question was, what happens when the person you belittle becomes the only one who can save you? Before the uniform, before the humiliation, he was just a kid who loved machines more than sleep. Malik grew up in a small neighborhood where opportunity was scarce, but curiosity was free. While other kids played outside, he took apart broken radios, lawnmowers, anything with wires or bolts. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He just needed to understand how things worked, why they failed, and how to bring them back to life. His mother used to say he had grease in his veins instead of blood. By 16, he could rebuild an engine faster than most grown men in his area. By 18, the military felt like the only place big enough for his ambition. Structure, discipline, a chance to prove that talent didn't have a zip code. Boot camp wasn't easy, but Malik never complained. He ran harder, studied longer, spoke less. He believed that excellence would speak for him, that skill would silence doubt. But doubt has a way of speaking first. From the moment he arrived at the base, there were glances, assumptions, quiet jokes that stopped when he walked into the room. Some men saw his uniform, others only saw his skin. Still, he kept his head down and his focus sharp, because somewhere deep inside that massive hangar sat one of the most complex engines in the fleet, an engineering beast few truly understood. And soon, it would stop working. The engine failed just after sunrise. At first, it was a vibration, subtle, almost polite. Then came the metallic scream that echoed through the hangar and silenced every conversation mid-sentence. Technicians rushed in. Tools clattered. Orders flew across the concrete floor. This wasn't just any machine. It powered a fleet operation scheduled for the next morning. Delays would cost millions. Failure would cost reputations. Malik felt it before he fully understood it. That rhythm in the breakdown. That uneven choke in the rotation. He had heard something like it once before, years ago, hunched over a salvage turbine in his neighbor's garage. But he stayed still. Around him, senior mechanics crowded the engine. Clipboards flipped. Diagnostics were run again and again. The general arrived minutes later, his presence sucking the oxygen out of the room. His boots struck the floor with sharp authority as he demanded answers no one had. 2 hours passed. Then 3. Sweat gathered under collars. The engine remained silent, heavy and defiant. Malik stepped forward once, just half a step. He tried to speak. The general turned slowly, the kind of slow that makes a room nervous. His eyes scanned Malik's uniform, then his face. And then came the laugh. Not loud, not explosive, just sharp enough to cut. He dismissed him without a second thought. The chuckles around the room were quiet, but loud enough. Malik felt the heat crawl up his neck, but he stepped back. Another hour passed. The diagnostics suggested a full system replacement, expensive, time-consuming, humiliating for leadership. Tension turned into quiet panic. Phones buzzed. Higher command was notified. Malik watched a seasoned expert circle the problem without touching it. They replaced components that weren't broken. They debated theories that didn't match the symptoms. Each failed attempt tightened the room like a coiled spring. Finally, frustration spilled into the open. The demand for answers echoed across the hangar. Malik felt his pulse in his fingertips. This was the moment that could define him, or destroy him. Speaking again would mean risking open ridicule. Maybe worse. Staying silent would mean watching them dismantle an engine he knew he could save. He thought about every sideways glance since arriving at the base. Every joke cut short when he entered a room. Every assumption made before he ever proved himself. He stepped forward again. This time, steady, certain. He explained what he believed was wrong, the fuel modulation system choking the rotation. The hangar went still. For a split second, anger and doubt flickered across the general's face. Then came the challenge. Prove it. And just like that, the weight of a $50 million machine, and every prejudice in that room, shifted onto Malik's shoulders. Every eye followed him as he stepped toward the open engine. No one offered help. Just silence, the kind reserved for people expected to fail. The general stood with his arms folded. This wasn't just about a machine anymore. It was about pride. About authority. About a young black recruit daring to challenge both. Malik climbed the platform and removed the outer casing with steady hands. Inside, the engine looked like controlled chaos, wires, valves, rotating assemblies led with impossible precision. He blocked out the stays, blocked out the memory of that laugh. He listened. He rotated the shaft manually. There it was, that faint resistance. Subtle, almost invisible. He adjusted the misaligned valve in the fuel system. Just a fraction off. Small enough to escape diagnostics. Big enough to cripple a $50 million engine. Someone behind him muttered that he was guessing. He climbed down and signaled for ignition. The engine coughed once. A long, painful second passed. Then it roared to life, smooth, powerful, flawless. The violent vibration was gone. The metallic scream replaced by controlled thunder that shook the hangar walls. No one cheered. No one moved. The general's arms slowly fell to his sides. Because in that deafening roar, something else had just broken, an assumption that had stood far longer than any engine ever could. The engine kept running. Smooth. Relentless. Unquestionable. But the silence afterward carried more weight than the sound. The general stepped forward, eyes fixed not on the machine, but on Malik. There was no apology, no speech, just a stiff nod heavy with swallowed pride. By the end of the week, the story had spread across the base. The recruit who was doubted had saved a multimillion-dollar operation in minutes. Some attitudes shifted overnight. Others didn't. Because prejudice doesn't disappear as quickly as mechanical failure. It lingers. It adapts. It waits. For Malik, the victory felt complicated. He had proven his skill, but he knew the truth. He had been required to be flawless just to be heard. One mistake would have confirmed every bias in that room. He wasn't just fixing an engine that day. He was fighting a narrative that had followed him his entire life. And that's the part most people don't see. Across industries, classrooms, offices, and institutions, talent is questioned when it comes in certain skin. Excellence is treated like an exception instead of the expectation. And too often, people have to be extraordinary just to be considered equal. Malik went back to work the next morning like he always did. Head down. Focus sharp. But something had changed. Not just in how others saw him. In how he saw himself. Because sometimes, the loudest statement isn't made with words. It's made when the engine roars, and the world is forced to listen. The real question is, how many more Maliks are out there, waiting for the chance to be believed?